the TBM 850, a stunning piece of programming from Blacksquare. But the question on every aviator's mind, is it worth a fly? Well, today we dive deep into the world of the TBM 850. The world of Microsoft Flight Simulator has been graced by many detailed aircraft, but few stand out as impressively as Blacksquare's TBM 850. Blacksquare's rendition of its 2006 Cicata TBM 850, and it's not just about the aesthetics. This model captures the real-world aircraft performance within a mere 2% deviation, utilizing the latest features Microsoft Flight Simulator offers, such as advanced propeller physics and heightened ground handling. And Blacksquare's legacy of precision is evident in every inch of this TBM. From the 3D gauges, each coded meticulously to resemble real-world counterparts, to the staggering 600 plus checklist items for various flight procedures. Whether it's operational nuances or instrumentation or even the potential for a component to wear and fail, this TBM is probably as close as we're going to get in the simulator. Now, let's shift our gaze to the visuals. At first glance you'd realise the exterior model, well, it's based off the default Microsoft Flight Simulator TBM 950. But before you jump to too many conclusions, this isn't necessarily a downside. You see, the default model in Microsoft Flight Simulator is of a very high quality, and Blacksquare's rendition doesn't seem to have any major deviations from this. However, it does mean that some of the unique treats that you find in other add-ons aren't really present here. For instance, virtual walkarounds or that awe-inspiring peek into the engine's interior, well, those immersive features which many simmers have come to cherish are notably absent from this model. While the visual fidelity is there, one can't help feeling a missed opportunity. Having those additional layers of immersion can be a game changer, adding depth to the simulation. Nonetheless, it's essential to remember that while these features enhance the experience, the core of the add-on doesn't lie in its visuals, but lies in the simulation depth. And you have to remember, this aircraft isn't about creating a new aircraft, it's about taking the existing aircraft and then changing it. So this is where this product really shines, and it's in the system depth. So when we dive into the TBM systems, it's clear that Blacksquare hasn't just raised the bar, they've seemingly launched it into the stratosphere. This isn't your typical plug and play aircraft. No, the TBM offers a profound simulation experience that arguably rivals some of the most detailed aircraft in the flight simulation world. Just take a glance at the 100-page manual. It doesn't merely serve as an afterthought. Instead, it's an essential guide to the aircraft's operation, packed with detailed instructions covering both standard and emergency procedures. And the avionics suite is nothing short of comprehensive. Whether you're a purist who relishes navigating using traditional radio systems, or someone who prefers the convenience of modern GPS like I do, one of the standout features is the meticulously crafted failure system. With nearly 100 possible failures, this aircraft ensures that every flight is unpredictable. From generator failures to compressor surging, the depth of the realism on offer can be both intimidating and invigorating. And I think this is very important, because having a realistic failure system ensures that you're following those checklists perfectly, because if you don't, you might have a failure, and I feel like that is something which is missing in a lot of add-ons. And when we have a detailed failure system, it kind of really adds to the immersion, because you have to do those checklists or you might end up in the ground a bit sooner than you anticipated. And the realism doesn't really stop there. The electrical system itself boasts 15 buses and over 85 circuits, and they are all modelled and they're all interactive with each other. The environment control system is another testament to the investment here in realism. So let's shift our attention slightly to something that often gripes me in simulations, and that is ground handling. The TBM 850 from Blacksquare seems to break that mold. It has hands down one of the most immersive ground handling experiences I think I've ever had. The nuances of the taxi, the subtle pull of the propeller wash, and the responsiveness of the nose wheel are rendered brilliantly, and it's just one of those aircraft which feels really good on the ground to taxi. And it only gets better from there, because as soon as we transition from the ground to the skies, the TBM does not disappoint. Its flight dynamics are a true testament to Blacksquare's commitment to realism. It's nimble yet controllable, and for those who pride themselves on their landing techniques, the TBM offers a very rewarding experience. It never felt like the flight model was feeling strange to me. It all felt very realistic and natural, and a lot of add-ons don't get that right. And I can really see that they have spent a lot of time here to get this correct. So speaking of landings, making those smooth, like kind of crowd-pleasing touchdowns feels really good, and it feels like there's a real sense of weight and momentum here, and it kind of gives almost like a little bit of feedback in the flare. It's kind of hard to describe. So what do I think about the sound? So to me, sound is very important because it adds to the immersion of the actual aircraft. It's worth noting that this is a customized version of the Microsoft Flight Simulator native 3D TBM 930 sound package, but this isn't just a reuse of stock sounds, as many people on forums suggest. They have actually gone the extra mile. Let me explain. So inside the cockpit, the sounds are quite impressive. Every single switch, button, dial is accompanied by an authentic crisp sound. They've even added handmade sounds for warnings, environmental control systems and various electronic systems. It's a medley of sound that makes you feel like you're really inside this living, breathing machine. And as you soar through the skies, the hum of the turbine, the whistle, the wind, and even the subtle vibrations all contribute to this auditory experience. And from the wind rustling on your final approach to the rubber kissing the tarmac, the sound suite makes for a very visceral flight. And even though it is using a lot of the default sounds, again, the default sounds in Microsoft Flight Simulator aren't really that bad. So they have enhanced them, but obviously there is a lot of the same sounds, and despite this, there is some engine sounds which I feel are missing, and some noises that other add-ons do a little bit better. But really what they focused on is more of the kind of switches and the internals, and I think this is what this add-on's really about. It's not about creating a new aircraft, it's about taking the existing aircraft and changing it. So changing it with all the analog dials and stuff like that. It's a different aircraft, but it's still the same kind of model that we had in the default Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because I don't think they've priced this as if it was a brand new aircraft. I think the pricing for this is very reasonable considering the amount of immersion this adds. It takes a vanilla aircraft and it effectively has made it into a study level aircraft, which I think is great. So is it worth a fly? My answer is yes, I think this is worth a fly, and I think it's one of the most detailed aircraft we actually have in Microsoft Flight Simulator right now, and I think it has set that bar a little bit higher, and I'm really excited to see what Blacksquare do in the future, because the TBM was one of their bigger projects, and I really hope that they will want to one day maybe move to the jets like the Citation, or maybe something else, because this has really added a lot of immersion for me, and I really enjoyed the add-on. And I'd say this TBM has so much more personality than it used to as the 930. It would be nice, sure, if they had a whole brand new model and a whole new sound set, but I think for what they've advertised here, it's delivered, and I think it is worth a fly.